Hey everyone, Kimmy here making a video on a UK game show for once. One that I think deserves an American run of the show. The show is called Beat the Pack. It debuted in 2013 in the UK, back in March 4th, 2013, and ended on March 29th, 2013. Well, looking at this show, sure it had some flaws, but they could have been fixed easily and this show could have had a longer run. It aired on BBC One back in the day, but it was also reran in 2024 on their sister channel, BBC Two. The show involves 8 contestants answering questions, a bit like 1 vs. 100, where one of them takes on the rest of them. And I love 1 vs. 100, so this show kind of got my attention. The show went where one of them is randomly selected, or if it was a contestant who did not win any money in the previous episode, they come back as a returning contestant. I'll get more into that in just a moment. The show is presented by presenter Jake Humphrey. He's a decent host. The gameplay went like this. 7 people are the pack, and then one person tries to knock out each of them during a round. The first question is worth £2,000. They're presented with 4 options. The pack has to answer, and if they answer correctly, they're safe. But if they don't, they're out, depending on if the contestant passed on the question or not. If they do pass on the question, the money will be halved to $1,000, and then $500, then $250, then $125. You get the idea. But other than that, the catch is, if a contestant gets a question wrong, they're out and they leave with nothing. Not to mention the money is wiped and then they have to start from scratch again. And whoever the best player in the pack is chosen to be the next one taking on the remaining members of the pack. The contestant is eliminated if they answer a question wrong, or if all the pack members get the question right at any point. Whether they all get it right on the second question, some on the first, and some on the third. You get the idea. If they do that, the contestant's out, and they leave empty-handed. But if the contestant manages to get a question right, they get to eliminate one of the members of the pack who is still sitting there answering questions. Whether they get it right or not will determine if they stay or they are out. They keep doing this until they're down to 2 contestants, whether it being 2 remaining members of the pack or the individual and 1 member of the pack. And then there comes the head-to-head portion. Now, the maximum jackpot of this game show is £14,000, so they have to get all the questions right on the first go. And they have 6 categories to choose from. Oh, and they do have a backup, or help. It's called Double Play. Or you could say it's Millionaire's Double Dip, because you get to pick 2 answers. You know, this is the closest thing to the UK getting double dip. And I guess you could say the one character from Seinfeld pretty much forbid UK millionaire double dipping. You'd have to watch the episode of Seinfeld to get the joke where one character dips a chip and he dipped again. I'll link that in the description so you get the idea. Then comes the head-to-head. One player who's the solo player will have to answer as many questions within a minute and 15 seconds. And the remaining member of the pack has a chance to steal it away by getting 3 questions correct, whether the contestant passes on them, gets it wrong, or takes too much time to come up with an answer. And if the pack gets 3 questions right in the end, they take the cash prize that's available, or they take the position of coming back in the next episode. With the whole idea of them coming back in another episode, I don't mind that, honestly, but the whole jackpot thing, this is where I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, in my opinion. If a player gets eliminated, the cash gets wiped out. So whether they had 6,000 pounds in their total and then they choose to pass on questions and all the members of the pack gets it right and the contestant is eliminated, or they answer a question and they pick the wrong answer, whether they use double play or not, that money is gone and the jackpot is set to 0. So here's where some changes I would make if there was a US version of the show, and if I had the choice to choose any network to put this on, I'd go for the American Broadcasting Channel, ABC to be exact. They know how to bring a game show to the US. They gave us The Chase, they gave us Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, of course. Although the new one with Jimmy Kimmel is hit or miss. I think they should have regular contestants instead of celebrities, but that's another topic for another time. If I brought this show to the States, the jackpot would be $120,000, which means they can get $20,000 if they play every question and get it right. But we all know that's not going to happen, because in every episode I've seen of this show so far, they don't always answer the first question, which is very hard. They usually pass, or if they want to go for it, they use double play, which means they choose 2 answers and hoping one of them is correct. So overall, this show beat the pack. I love the theme song. The set is gorgeous. Of course, nothing will be as amazing as the hot seat from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but overall, would I recommend checking out Beat the Pack? With the 20 episodes that are on here, I'd say start with the first episode and then decide for yourself. Is it worth watching the series? For me, it is, and if ABC's watching this video, this is a show they should pretty much bring to the US. I mean, NBC is not bringing back 1 versus 100 because they care about that wall game show, which I don't care for. So, this is the closest thing to a 1 versus 100 reboot, I assume. And since the original host of 1 versus 100 is dead, rest in peace, Bob Saget. We miss you. Of course, Game Show Network could pick this up as well. I'll pretty much write down on screen or in the comments on how much I think each question should be worth and how the concept should work. But I'll tell you right now, if this show ever gets brought to the US, there are a few changes that need to be made. Multiply the cash amounts by 10, which means the first question is $20,000, and if they pass, or first category was $20,000. Well, first question for each category is $20,000. Then half it in $10,000 if they choose to pass. Then half it to $5,000. Then half it to $2,500. Then $1,250. My mistake. And then $675 or $625. You get the idea. And they keep going until either the contestant gets the answer right or they get it wrong. Or all the members of the pack gets it right, and then the solo contestant is eliminated. And if there's no cash jackpot at the end, then they're playing for $5,000. Since if this is going to be on ABC Primetime, they should give them a cash jackpot. And this, if you've been looking at the reboots of Card Sharks, Match Game, and other shows, they don't have returning contestants, and I don't think they'd want to have a returning contestant on a primetime show, unless it's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's the only exception. And as for the final game, I would change that to a head-to-head, where they each name a list, sort of like what would happen on the Money List, or Who Dare Wins, or the Rich List, depending on what name you know it as, or the first game they use on the Chamber, where both players would name a list or something that could be on the list, and they keep going, and whoever wins 2 out of 3 matches is the winner and gets the cash jackpot. Those are the changes I would make for Beat the Pack. And as for who I think should host it, well, I would say Joey Fatone, but I think this is Steve Harvey's kind of show, and I'm not going to do an impression of him because it's pretty bad. I'm sure one of my friends would do a much better impression of him. But this is his kind of show, and speaking of Family Feud, I gave Family Feud a second chance, and I take back all those negative things I said about it. But I still think they should change the theme song to that, but that's another story for another time. That's my review of Beat the Pack. I recommend checking this show out. Well, just the first episode to see if you think it's worth checking out in your opinion or not. Thanks for watching. This is Cute Mimi 25 saying, I hope ABC considers my idea for a US version that beat the pack. Plus, I feel like this is a sister show to 1 vs. 100 and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The best of both worlds, you could say. So, anyway, thanks for watching.